Have you ever wondered how the concept of a state, as we know it today, originated? It's a fascinating question, one that has intrigued thinkers, scholars, and leaders throughout history. The idea of the state is a complex one, with roots deep in human civilization. It's a concept that encompasses the organization of society, the rule of law, governance, and the collective identity of a people. Over the centuries, a multitude of theories have been proposed to explain the origin, nature, and functions of the state. These theories provide a lens through which we can examine how the state came into being, what its primary characteristics are, and what roles it plays in society. Each theory offers a unique perspective, shaped by the historical and cultural context in which it was formed. As we explore these theories, you might discover some surprising insights into the world we live in today. So let's begin our journey into understanding the state's intriguing genesis and evolution. Let's start with a theory that might seem archaic to us now, but was once widely accepted: the divine right theory. The divine right theory is a political and religious doctrine that asserts that a monarch is not subject to earthly authority, deriving the right to rule directly from a divine authority. The king is thus not a subject of the will of his people, the aristocracy, or any other estate of the realm, but God alone. Now let's take a step back to medieval Europe, where this theory was firmly entrenched. Picture a world where the king was not just a king, but a conduit to the divine. A world where the monarch was seen as God's representative on earth, chosen by divine entities to rule over the land and its people. This belief was not only held by the rulers themselves, but also by the general populace, who believed that to question the king was to question God. This belief in the divine right of kings created a system where rulers held absolute power. Kings could not be held accountable for their actions by any earthly authority, and the people had no say in the governance of their own lands. This was a time when the monarch's word was law, and to defy the king was to commit an act of sacrilege. The divine right theory was not just a justification for monarchical rule, it was also a key component in the formation of early states. The monarchs, with their divine backing, were able to consolidate power and establish centralized states. They implemented laws, collected taxes, and defended their territories from external threats. The divine right of kings also played a significant role in the wars of religion that plagued Europe during the 16th and 17th centuries. However, as we moved into the Enlightenment, the divine right theory began to lose its luster. People started questioning the divine right of kings and demanding more rights for themselves, leading to revolutions and the subsequent rise of democracy. While this theory is less popular today, it had a significant impact on the formation of early states. Moving forward in time, we arrive at the social contract theory. This theory posits that states are not born out of divine will or natural progression, but rather, they are the result of a mutual agreement between individuals. The social contract theory revolves around the idea that people willingly surrender some of their freedoms in exchange for protection and societal order. Key philosophers have played a significant role in shaping this theory. Let's delve into their contributions. First, we have Thomas Hobbes, an English philosopher from the 17th century. Hobbes believed that in the state of nature, life was solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. To escape this chaos, individuals came together to form a social contract, agreeing to give up their absolute freedom for the sake of security and order. Then, we have John Locke, another influential philosopher from the same era as Hobbes. Locke, however, had a more optimistic view of the state of nature, seeing it as a state of equality and independence, rather than chaos. Nonetheless, he agreed with Hobbes that individuals would willingly form a social contract to protect their natural rights: life, liberty, and property. Finally, we have Jean-Jacques Rousseau, a philosopher from the Enlightenment period. Rousseau proposed that in the state of nature, humans were essentially good, but were corrupted by society. He believed in a social contract where individuals would surrender their rights not to a ruler, but to the entire community, creating a collective sovereign. Each of these philosophers offered unique perspectives, but all agreed on one thing: the state is a product of rational human design, an agreement between individuals to form a society. This theory marked a shift in understanding the state as a product of rational human design rather than divine intervention. Another theory, quite contrasting to the social contract theory, is the force theory. This theory posits that the state comes into existence not through mutual agreement, but by sheer force or coercion. It's a bit like the law of the jungle, where the strongest not only survive, but rule. Now, the force theory takes us back to a time when society was not as structured as it is today. Imagine a time when there were no established norms or laws. In these times, it was the strongest or the most cunning who had the power to impose their will on others. This imposition of will over time led to the formation of states. The force theory is often linked with the concept of colonialism. Think about it. When a foreign power invades another land, it forcefully imposes its rule, creating a new state or altering the existing one. This process was evident during the era of European colonialism, where countries like Britain, France, and Spain established colonies across the globe. But it's not just about the past. The force theory is also relevant today. Consider countries where military coups have led to the establishment of new regimes. Here, a group, usually the military, seizes power by force and establishes a new state structure. Moreover, the force theory is not just about physical force. It also involves coercion, which can be economic, political, or social. For instance, a powerful group might use economic sanctions or political pressure to force a weaker group into submission, leading to the formation of a state. However, it's important to note that the force theory is not without its criticisms. Many argue that it oversimplifies the complex process of state formation, reducing it to a mere show of power. Others contend that it fails to consider the role of negotiation, compromise, and consensus in the process. But despite these criticisms, the force theory holds its ground. It offers a stark reminder of the power dynamics that play a vital role in the formation of states. This theory illuminates the darker side of state formation, reminding us of the power dynamics inherent in the process. Finally, we come to the evolutionary theory. This theory presents a more organic view of state formation, suggesting that states evolve naturally over time from family and clan systems. In the grand tapestry of human history, the evolutionary theory posits that the concept of a state did not spring into existence overnight, but rather, it evolved gradually, much like the species that form it. The theory proposes that the state is a natural progression from the basic unit of society, the family. Initially, humans lived in small family units. As these families grew and expanded, they formed larger kinship groups known as clans. Over time, these clans grew and merged, eventually forming tribes. These tribes, composed of multiple clans, were often tied together by common ancestry, shared beliefs, and mutual survival needs. As the human population continued to grow and societies became more complex, these tribes evolved into chiefdoms. In these chiefdoms, leadership was often hereditary, passed down from one generation to the next, and the leaders had the power to make decisions for the entire group. From these chiefdoms, the first true states began to emerge. States are characterized by a centralized authority, a formal legal system, and a defined territory. Unlike tribes and chiefdoms, states have formal institutions and a bureaucracy to manage the affairs of the state and its citizens. The evolutionary theory asserts that this progression from family to state was a natural process, driven by the need for larger social structures to manage increasingly complex societies. It's a theory that sees the state not as a sudden invention, but as a gradual evolution, a slow refinement of social organization over thousands of years. This theory, while perhaps less dramatic than others, provides a unique perspective on the formation of states. It suggests that the state is not a construct imposed from above or created through force, but rather, it's a natural outgrowth of human social evolution. The evolutionary theory, while less dramatic than others, provides a unique perspective on the gradual development of states over time. So, we've journeyed through time, exploring various theories about the origin, nature, and function of states. From the divine right theory, we've seen the belief in a divine entity bestowing authority to rulers, shaping the state's nature and function. The social contract theory presented us with a different perspective, where individuals willingly surrender some of their freedoms to the state for protection and order. The force theory, on the other hand, painted a picture of state formation through power and domination. Lastly, the evolutionary theory offered a view of the state as an organic entity, evolving from family to tribe and eventually to state. Each theory, in its own right, is a lens through which we can explore the multifaceted concept of the state. They offer different insights into how states have come to be and their core functions. While these theories might not provide a definitive answer, they do offer fascinating perspectives on the complex and diverse nature of states. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning.